Hi everyone, it's Zach with Palantir Research. We got a busy week for Palantir here. Now looking at the stock first, Palantir closed down over 9% for the week under the $24 range. Now for some, this was a long needed retraction with a recent price run up, while those just hearing about the stock more recently might think this is some apocalyptic end of the world event. Well, just zoom out over a longer period of time, and this is quite an interesting price range to be in right now. But no matter what camp you're in, we'll see how this plays out over the more time. So first, we've got new short interest data showing Palantir has actually had a decrease once again by around 5.2%. And this is also around 5.26% of the float being shorted, meaning while at least looking backwards to late up to February 29, Palantir has maintained their price action in this mid-20s amidst decreasing short positions. Now this can always flip since it's a delayed metric here, but we'll continue to monitor. Next, we've got Peter Thiel selling $174 million worth of Palantir shares. So according to his Form 4, so that's a statement of change of beneficial ownership, he sold 7 million shares of Palantir around $24 to $25 per share. Now, if you go to his remaining holdings, you'll see this is a spread among several holding companies, so he's got well over 110 million shares remaining even after these transactions. And as always, I'll leave it up to you what is considered healthy or bad insider selling. Just note there have been other insider sellers too in early March that I haven't covered in detail, but they're all available here in Palantir's Investor Relations website. Then, probably the highlight of the week is Karp's CNBC interview. He continues to hammer down the fact customers are seeing real value and that they're continuing to see that their competition because they're letting potential customers actually use AIP for holding use cases that are useful for themselves. So the most clipped part of this interview is what you've probably seen all over floating around for everyone with Coke and short sellers, but essentially Alex Karp goes off on his thoughts regarding not only short sellers, but the state of geopolitics, especially around Israel and Hamas, Ukraine and Russia. So I know there are so many different opinions on this, but at least for Palantir's stance, we don't get any shockers or unexpected statements here considering what we've heard in the past repeatedly. Then we've got Palantir being a top 25 finalist for the VAs or Veterans Affairs contest, essentially for teams to come up with the best solutions to address healthcare worker burnout. There are two categories with Palantir competing for one of them, trying to integrate non-VA records with the VAs. So it sounds similar to the typical use case that Palantir has already tackled at other organizations, especially in healthcare. And that's with tying together disparate data sources as well as using ontology to tie together the true relationships between these different data sets. So we'll see over time if this bears fruit, even if it's a small $1 million prize for this exact contest. Now, for those longer term followers of the channel, this was definitely a quieter week in regards to the amount of PRs and news for Palantir. And that's to be expected since you can't possibly have breaking news every single week. But with the recent price run up and current market cap of the company, there are a lot of questions around the valuation and sustainability of Palantir at these price levels. And I like to focus on the actual business itself side of Palantir, and honestly anyone can argue over the under and over valuation of this and slap onto it a time frame. So coming from my own raw thoughts, Palantir continues to onboard major customers and show they can provide them value. Now the level of how much value and how quick can still be debated, even if everything they've showed off at this recent AIP con. But at least for most risk profiles, if you're not crazy, at least in my opinion, and not a financial advice, of course, then Palantir, at least with their cash position and recent performance, will give someone at least a reason to look at them and be curious. Plus, with their government business, I like to see that as a possible bonus down the line if we're able to land a large contract, just like we've seen with the recent Titan one here that can lead to more dollars. But I think most would agree for them to justify their valuation, they would need to see more growth in their commercial side here and be the main driver. But what are your thoughts below? And I'll see you in the next video.